The Queen's final hour. The palace of Zavora was silent. Heavy clouds hung in the purple sky. Inside the tall crystal walls, guards stood still like statues. No one spoke. No one smiled. Queen Valari was dying. She lay on a floating bed in the royal healing room. Her silver hair was spread around her pale face. Her deep blue skin had lost its glow. Her eyes, once bright with command, now barely opened. Healers surrounded her. Their hands glowed with alien energy, trying to push life back into her body. But it was no use. Her breath was slow. Her heart, weak. She won't make it through the night, one healer whispered. High lords and royal advisors stood outside the room, talking in hushed voices. Their leader was dying, and none of them knew what would happen next. Zavora had no heir. The royal bloodline was ending. Some were scared. Some were planning for power, but inside the room the queen moved her hand slightly. A healer noticed. Your Majesty, do you need something? The queen's lips parted. Her voice was soft, cracked, almost a whisper. Bring him. The healers looked at each other in confusion. Him? Who, Your Majesty? She coughed, then whispered again. The human, the soldier from Earth. The healer frowned. Commander Ryan Hale? The queen gave the faintest nod. The news spread fast through the palace like fire in dry grass. In a nearby star system, a small dusty planet named Solon 9 spun quietly. It was a mining colony. On the edge of the colony, in a metal hut filled with broken tools and engines, Ryan Hale sat alone. He was human, tall, rugged, tired. His left arm was cybernetic. His right eye was covered with a thin scar. He once fought in the war between humans and the Zavaran Empire. Now he worked as a mechanic fixing broken ships. He liked silence. He liked being forgotten. A ship landed outside. Ryan looked up. A tall Zavaran female soldier stepped out wearing the royal crest. Commander Hale, she said firmly. Not a commander anymore, Ryan replied without standing. The queen is dying. She asks for you, by name. Ryan laughed, bitterly. She remembers me? She never forgot. Ryan stared at her. His fingers curled into a fist. Tell her, no. But as the ship flew away without him, Ryan sat back down and closed his eyes. His mind went back to the war. Years ago. The battlefield was covered in smoke and fire. Ryan had been injured, hiding in a cave. That's when he saw her, Valari, not as a queen, but as a young warrior. Her leg was wounded, her guards were dead. They both pointed weapons at each other, but never fired. Instead, they shared shelter, shared water, shared stories. When the enemy found them, Ryan shielded her with his body, took a shot meant for her. She had held his hand crying, not as a queen, but as a woman. They survived, and then she became queen. He disappeared. Now in the cold night of Solon 9, Ryan stood outside his hut staring at the stars. He sighed. Damn it, Valari. Back in the palace, the queen grew weaker. Her eyes closed. The healers whispered prayers. The nobles began preparing for her funeral. Suddenly, the alarms beeped at the palace gate. A ship landed. From the steam and light, a man walked out. Dusty boots, leather jacket, a tired face. Commander Ryan Hale. The guards blocked him. I was called, Ryan said calmly. By whom? A noble snapped. By the woman lying inside, your queen. Inside the chamber, Queen Valari opened her eyes again. Barely. Is he here? The healer nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. He came. Let me see him. Alone. The nobles were furious. This is madness. Letting a human see her alone in her last moment? But no one could stop the queen's final order. Ryan walked into the room. The doors closed behind him. He knelt beside her bed. His voice cracked. You look terrible. Valari, she smiled weakly. Still so charming. He took her cold hand in his. Why did you call me? She stared into his eyes. Because in all my years you were the only one who treated me like a person, not a queen. Her voice dropped lower. I have something only you can carry. My last request. Ryan's heart pounded. What is it? She whispered slowly, word by word. Take my memories, my truth, my legacy. Make sure it's not lost, not to these liars, not to this cruel court. Only you, Ryan. And then, her breath faded, but her fingers still held onto his. The forgotten hero. The queen was dead, but her last words haunted Ryan Hale's ears like a whisper in the wind. Take my memories, my truth, my legacy. He stood alone in the cold chamber, her hand still wrapped around his. Her body had gone still, her glow faded, yet something passed between them, something heavy. He felt it, not in his hands, not in his mind, but somewhere deep in his chest, a strange warmth, a sharp pressure behind his eyes. The royal guards entered, quietly. One looked shaken, another saluted. She spoke only to you, said the lead guard, his voice low. That makes you important now. I never wanted to be important, Ryan said, standing. I just came because she asked. The nobles outside were angry, very angry. He should be arrested, one shouted. A human has no place at her deathbed. He poisoned her, it must be some trick, but none could touch him, not after her final command. Ryan was taken to the queen's private chamber, not the throne room, not the war room, a hidden place few had ever seen. Inside, the air smelled of old flowers and ink. There were scrolls, carvings, and a single box, made of living crystal. A royal keeper stood silently by the box. She left this for you, the keeper said. No one else may open it. Ryan looked at the box. It had no lock, no keyhole, just a glowing symbol, a handprint. Hesitating, he placed his hand on it. The box opened with a soft sound like a breath. A light rose from it. Not gold, not silver. A strange, shifting color, like memories taking shape. And then, suddenly, images rushed into Ryan's mind. He saw Queen Valeria as a child, crying alone in a cold room. He saw her standing in war, sword raised, body bleeding. He saw her turning down suitors, avoiding politics, choosing the crown over love. And finally, he saw himself, the war, the cave. That one night when two enemies had become something else. Ryan stumbled back, holding his head. The keeper caught him. What is this? Ryan gasped. Why did she give this to me? She gave you her soul, the keeper said, her truth. You now carry the memory bond. Ryan shook his head. I'm not Zavarin. She chose you. That makes you more than Zavarin. Outside the palace, chaos was brewing. Lord Careth, the queen's cousin, slammed his fist on the table. This is treason. A human cannot hold the bond of a queen. Another noble hissed. If the people find out, they might accept him. She was loved. Careth's eyes narrowed. Then we must act quickly, before the people know. Meanwhile, Ryan sat in a quiet garden, watching. Zavarin children play in the distance. His heart was heavy, his mind full. He could feel her presence inside him now. Not her voice, but her strength. Her pain. Her hopes. He remembered something she had once whispered to him in the war. Something she'd never said again. If I weren't a queen, I would choose a life with you. He had laughed back then, brushed it off like a joke. Now he knew she had meant it. As he sat lost in thought, a small voice interrupted him. Are you the human she loved? Ryan looked up. A little alien girl with silver eyes stood before him. She told us about you, the girl said. The one who was kind, the one who gave her warmth. Ryan smiled softly. I was just a soldier. You were her only friend, the girl said, and ran back to her group. At night, Ryan was given a guest room, but he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking. The queen had trusted him, given him her legacy. But what did that mean now? The people didn't want him. The nobles would never follow a human. And yet, deep down, A strange fire had started in him, not for power, not for control, but for her, for the woman who chose him. In her final breath. In the shadows of the palace, Lord Kareth met with a deadly alien assassin. "You have until sunrise," he said. "Make it look like an accident. No one will mourn a human." Far above the city, a storm rolled in. Lightning cracked, and in the dark hallway near Ryan's room, a silent figure moved with a blade. "Return to a broken throne." The sky over Zavora turned blood red as the twin moons crossed each other. It was a rare night, one that the old books called the Judgment Sky. Inside the palace, not everyone slept. In the shadows, a killer crept. A masked figure moved silently through the royal guest wing. His long blade shimmered, coated with a poison that killed in seconds. The guards had been bribed. The lights were dim. The target was alone. The human. Ryan Hale's eyes snapped open. He didn't know why, but something inside his chest pulled him awake. It wasn't fear. It was her. Queen Valeri's energy, now part of him, whispered, "Get up." He rolled off the bed just as the blade slashed the pillow where his head had been. The assassin hissed. Ryan kicked him in the chest, knocking the masked killer back. They struggled, fought, glass shattered. The assassin was fast, but Ryan was trained. Human reflexes, Zavaran memories. He was more than he had ever been. The fight ended with a loud crash. Ryan pinned the killer down and pulled off the mask. It wasn't a man. It was a woman, with royal tattoos on her neck. A noble's servant. "Who sent you?" Ryan growled. The woman spat at him. Before she could speak again, she bit down, something hidden in her tooth, and her body went limp. Poison. Dead. Minutes later, alarms rang through the palace. Guards arrived. Nobles came rushing, in fake concern. And Lord Kareth, cousin to the dead queen, spoke loudly in front of everyone. "This is what happens when you let humans in the palace. The queen is dead, and now even her rooms are soaked in violence." Ryan threw the dead, assassin's dagger at Kareth's feet. "Maybe you should check your own staff. She had noble blood on her neck." Kareth narrowed his eyes. "You are nothing but a shadow in her memory. You don't belong here." But just then, the royal keeper stepped forward. "She chose him," the keeper said, holding up the memory. "Crystal. He carries her bond, her truth." Some nobles gasped, others stepped back. They had hoped to bury the queen's final wishes, but now proof had surfaced. Hours later, Ryan was summoned to the council hall. The great round room had walls made of starlight glass. Alien nobles sat in high seats, wearing cloaks of different colors, representing every region of Zavora. Kareth stood at the center like a snake ready to strike. "Let the human speak," he said with false calm. Ryan stood in front of them all. His hands were empty, his jacket torn from the fight. He looked nothing like a leader, but his voice was steady. "Queen Valeri called me before her death. I didn't ask for it. I didn't expect it. But she gave me her bond, her memories, her pain, and her hopes." "Lies," Kareth snapped. The keeper placed the memory crystal on the table. It shimmered. The nobles saw images, Valeri's memories, playing like ghostly visions. Her voice echoed in the room. "He saved me when even my own people fled. He never saw my crown, only my heart." Some nobles lowered their heads, others wept silently. Ryan stepped closer. "I'm not here to rule, I'm not here to wear your crown, but I will honor her last request." He paused. "She wanted peace for your people, a future free from fear, a path only someone outside your politics could walk." A silence fell over the room. Kareth's face darkened. "Enough," he hissed. "If he is not claiming the throne, then he should leave." But just then, a door opened, and a child entered, a small alien girl, no older than 6, with bright silver eyes and markings on her cheeks. She walked straight to Ryan and took his hand. "My mother said you were kind," she said softly. she said. If anything ever happened to her, I should find you. Gasps filled the room. Kareth shouted, Impossible! Valerie had no child. But the girl looked up at Ryan with truth in her eyes. I'm not asking you to be king, she said. Just don't leave me alone. Ryan looked around. Every noble was watching. Every eye was waiting. A memory hit him. Valerie, years ago, saying softly as they hid in a cave, If I had a daughter, I'd want her to have your heart. Ryan's throat tightened. He turned to the nobles. I'll stay, not for power, not for any crown, but for her. He picked up the little girl and held her close. In her name, I'll protect this throne. Kareth stormed out, and far away in a secret chamber he began to speak with darker forces, ones who would not be stopped by love or memory. The war for the Queen's legacy had only begun. The last memory bond. Seitu. Palace changed after that day. No longer was Ryan Hale just the human visitor. Now the servants bowed when he passed. The guards stood straighter when he walked near. Some nobles watched him with respect. Others watched him with hate. And the child, Alina, the Queen's secret daughter, never left his side. Ryan sat in the Queen's garden, the same place she used to sit alone. Flowers glowed in soft blues and purples. Wind chimes made of alien glass sang gently in the breeze. Alina sat in his lap playing with the broken dog tag he always wore. Was my mother scared before she died? She asked suddenly. Ryan looked at her. Her silver eyes were honest, brave. No, he said softly. She was strong. Even at the end, Alina nodded like she already knew. She said you were the only one who never lied to her. Ryan gave a tired smile. I didn't know how to lie back then. But you do now? He didn't answer. That night, the royal keeper came to Ryan's chambers. It is time, he said. Time for what? Ryan asked. The bonding rite. The last part of the Queen's memory transfer. Ryan frowned. I already feel her memories. I see things that aren't mine. That was only the first layer, the keeper replied. Now comes the full link. Your mind, your soul, and your blood. Ryan felt a chill. Will I survive? It? The keeper paused. Most do not, but the Queen believed you would. They brought him to the Chamber of Stars, hidden deep below the palace. The walls were ancient, made of glowing stone. Symbols written in light floated in the air. In the center stood a crystal altar. At its base was the Queen's crown, resting like a sleeping flame. The keeper handed Ryan a ceremonial blade. You must give a drop of blood onto the altar, he said. Only then will her spirit fully enter you. Ryan looked at the blade. One cut, one drop. He pressed the blade to his palm. The skin split. Blood dripped onto the stone. The altar lit up. A wind roared through the chamber, though no door was open. The symbols began to spin around him. Light poured from the crown and rose, into the air. Then it shot straight into Ryan's chest. He screamed. Memories crashed into him like a storm. He saw thousands of years of Zavoran history. He saw the Queen's lonely childhood, her forced crown, her secret fears, her silent love for him. He saw how she planned to hide Alina, to protect her from traitors. He saw her last thoughts before death. Ryan, I choose you because I trust no one else. They will come for my child. You must stop them, or all of Zavora will fall. Then, darkness. When Ryan woke, he was lying on the floor. The keeper stood over him, eyes wide. It worked, he whispered. You survived. Ryan sat up, his skin glowing faintly. Strange symbols now ran across his arms, just like those of Zavaran royals. He felt heavier, but also stronger, like her soul now walked beside his own. As he rose, the crown lifted into the air. It hovered before him. He reached out, then stopped. "I'm not a king," he said. "No," the keeper agreed. "But you are something new." Meanwhile, far from the palace, in the mountains, Lord Kareth knelt before a dark figure. A forgotten sorcerer, a master of forbidden blood tech. "I need the girl dead," Kareth said, "and the human destroyed." The sorcerer's eyes gleamed red. "Then we must break the bond, shatter the queen's will." "How?" "By calling the memory eaters," Kareth gasped. "Those are just a myth." The sorcerer grinned. "Not anymore." Back in the palace, Alina hugged Ryan tightly. "Did it hurt?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah, a lot." "But you came back," she said. "You always come back." He looked into her small, brave face. "I promised her I'd protect you." But even Ryan didn't yet know that something was already watching them from beyond. The stars. A power awakened by the queen's death, and it wanted her memories erased and forever. Sabotage in the shadows. Deep beneath the Zavarin palace, where the walls sweated and no sunlight ever touched the stone, something ancient had awakened. It slithered silently through time and memory. A creature made not of flesh, but of hunger. A memory eater. It had no face, only smoke and whispers. It was called by blood magic. And it had one task: erase the queen from existence. Lord Kareth stood with the forbidden sorcerer beside a pool of black light. "She passed her memories to a human," Kareth said through clenched teeth. "He wears her thoughts like a crown, and now the people begin to follow him." The sorcerer smiled coldly. "Then we must make the people forget her, erase every image, every word, every trace, even from him." Kareth's voice dropped. "And the child?" The sorcerer's eyes glowed. "She must be the last. When her memories are gone, the queen truly dies." In the palace, Ryan sat with Alina under a tree of glowing leaves. "Did my mother ever smile?" the little girl asked. Ryan blinked. At first he saw the queen's face in his mind, clear and proud, but then it flickered, just for a second. Her eyes changed. Her voice became distant. A small piece of her was missing. Ryan shook his head. "Yeah." She smiled. "All the time." But even he didn't believe it anymore. That night, Ryan felt cold as he tried to sleep, not from the air, but from inside. He stared at the ceiling, where alien stars were painted long ago. He tried to remember the first time he saw the queen laugh. But the memory was gone. The next morning, the royal keeper rushed into Ryan's room. "Your mind is under attack," he said quickly. "Something is trying to break the bond." Ryan stood. "I know. I can feel her slipping." "The old powers," the keeper whispered. "The kind the queen banned, someone has released them." Ryan's voice hardened. "Kareth." "There's more," the keeper added. "The queen's chamber has been vandalized. Her scrolls burned." Ryan's fists tightened. "We're being erased." Guards raced through the palace, protecting the sacred places, but signs of corruption were spreading. Symbols were blackened. Statues cracked. Even the people began to forget. One servant whispered, "Did we even have a queen? Or just a ruler who passed too soon?" Ryan stood in the throne room that evening and shouted at the nobles, "They're stealing her memory from your minds, from this world." Some looked afraid, others just looked confused. A noblewoman said softly, I can't remember her face." Ryan's heart broke. Alina hugged his leg. "I remember, Ryan, I remember Mama." He bent down, holding her face. "Then we fight to keep her alive. Through you." Far away, Kareth watched from a crystal screen, fuming. "Why does the child still remember?" he hissed. The sorcerer frowned. "She was born of her. Her memories are too deep. We need something stronger, darker. Then use it." That night, the memory eater moved again. It entered the queen's private garden. Each flower that had once bloomed from her energy wilted. Each tree that heard her, laughter withered, but one thing resisted. Alina's necklace. It was a small pendant, a gift from her mother. When the shadow reached for her room, the necklace pulsed with blue light and the creature screamed in silence and fled. Ryan burst into Alina's room. The girl sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Is the bad thing gone?" she asked. He stared at the glowing necklace. "What is that?" "She said it would protect me from forgetfulness," Alina said. "She called it her last flame." Ryan stared, his chest tightening. Valerie had planned everything, even death. He took the necklace in his hand and whispered, "Can I borrow this?" Alina nodded. "Just don't forget me, too." Ryan marched into the ancient vault where the original memory stones were kept, deep history of Zavora stored inside glowing crystals. He placed the necklace beside them. They lit up, and from the dust, the Queen's voice returned. Every memory, hidden, every truth erased, came back. Ryan smiled. She knew they'd come. But the joy didn't last. Because outside the vault, a guard blew his horn. The palace was under attack. Kareth had made his move. Alien warships blotted the sky. Flames rose in the distance, and through it all, the people began to forget again. Unless Ryan and Alina stood tall, the Queen would die a second death. This time, forever. The Queen's final gift. The sky of Zavora was burning. Alien ships flew low over the capital city, their engines screaming like angry beasts. The palace guards ran to their stations. Civilians hid in their homes. The streets were full of smoke and fear. From the top balcony of the palace, Ryan Hale watched it all. His human eyes had seen war before. But this time, it wasn't just about land or power. This time they were fighting for a memory, a woman, a queen, a promise, and he was the last man who could keep it alive. Inside the palace, Alina stood in front of the ancient vault, her tiny fingers clutching her glowing necklace. She could hear her mother's voice echoing from the memory crystals. "If this world forgets me, daughter, then you must remember enough for all of them." Her eyes watered, but she nodded. "I will, Mama," she whispered. "I promise." Meanwhile, Lord Kareth stood aboard a command ship above the palace. His golden armor shimmered, his eyes were cold. "The human still lives," a captain reported. Kareth's jaw tightened. "Then we erase him next. Burn the throne if you must." "No, one must remember her, not even her child." Inside the royal hall, Ryan met with the keeper and the last loyal generals. "They're not just attacking the palace," Ryan said. "They're attacking her memory. I can feel it. Like pieces of her are being ripped out of me." The keeper nodded gravely. "If Kareth reaches the memory chamber, he can destroy the core crystal. After that, even you will forget her." Ryan looked at the glowing necklace in his hand, the one that protected Alina, the one the Queen had left behind. "There has to be something more in this," he said. "Something she left for us. Not just memories, but power." The keeper stepped forward, voice low. "There is." He led Ryan deep beneath the palace to a hidden room sealed for over 100 years. It opened only when Ryan's glowing arm touched the door. Inside floated a strange object, a halo of energy, spinning slowly, humming like a heartbeat. "What is that?" Ryan whispered. The keeper spoke with awe. The Queen's last gift. Her final will made physical. She poured her strength into it before her death, but only someone who carries her bond can use it. Ryan stepped forward. The light surrounded him. He saw flashes, Valerie in battle, her hand reaching for his, her voice in his mind. "They won't follow a human, but they will follow us." Suddenly the energy surged into him, his scars glowed, his cybernetic arm morphed. The Zavaran markings on his body burned brighter. He fell to one knee but did not fall. He had become her final defender. The skies cracked. Kareth's army landed. Explosions rocked the palace walls. Ryan stood at the gates, Alina hiding safely in the vault behind him. Enemy soldiers marched forward. Kareth stepped out, sword drawn. "You were nothing but a mechanic," he shouted. "A soldier with a broken past. Why would she choose you?" Ryan stepped forward, eyes blazing with alien fire. "Because I never wanted the crown." He raised his hand, and from the air, blue flames burst out, forming a shield around the palace. Kareth's forces stopped, stunned. Even their machines shuddered. "She left more than memory," Ryan said. "She left me." In the city below, the people watched, and for the first time since the Queen's death, they remembered. One child pointed to the sky and shouted, "The human!" The one she loved. Another cried, "She's not gone. She lives in him." The Queen's voice echoed faintly from the memory stones. "My final gift is not power. It is remembrance." Inside the burning palace, Ryan fought like a storm. Every time he struck, blue energy sparked from his hands. He moved faster than before, stronger than before. With every step he remembered more, her laughter, her pain, her heart. But then, Kareth reached the vault doors. Alina stood there, holding the crystal. "Move aside, girl," Kareth growled. "I promised her," she said. "You can't have it." He raised his blade. She closed her eyes. But just before it could fall, Ryan arrived. The two men clashed. Steel rang against energy. Kareth was faster. Ryan was fueled by love, by pain, by something greater than war. They fought in silence, memory shards floating in the air. At last, Kareth fell, wounded and bleeding. He looked up, rage still in his eyes. "You don't belong here," he spat. Ryan stood over him, voice calm. "I didn't." But she made sure now. "I do." Alina ran into Ryan's arms. Outside, the people began to cheer. Inside, the vault glowed brighter. The Queen's memory had survived, and her final gift had awakened. The human who wears the crown. Smoke curled into the morning sky. The battle was over. The fires had been put out. The broken walls of the palace still stood, though scarred. Soldiers walked through rubble, helping the wounded. Children peeked from windows. Citizens gathered outside the palace gates, silent, watching. They were waiting, not for a king, but for a sign, for what came next. Inside the shattered throne room, Ryan Hale stood in front of the high seat. The Queen's crown lay untouched on the steps, glowing faintly in the sunlight. Alina sat beside him, hugging her knees, her silver eyes wide and quiet. "She always said the throne was too cold," she whispered. Ryan glanced at the chair. "It is. But it looks less scary now that you're standing near it." He gave a tired smile. "It still scares me." The royal keeper entered, bowing slightly. "The nobles have agreed. The people too. You saved us, Ryan Hale. You carry her soul, her memory, her legacy." Ryan looked at the keeper. "I'm not Zaverin." "No," the keeper said, "but you are hers." In the Hall of Flame, where ancient rulers once took their oaths, Ryan stood before the people. They had come in silence, thousands strong. Alien faces, different colors and markings, but one hope in every eye. He wore no robe, no gold, just a simple tunic and her necklace around his neck. Alina held his hand tightly. "My name is Ryan Hale," he said, voice clear. "I was a soldier, a mechanic, a stranger to your world." He paused. "But your queen saw something in me. She gave me her heart, her memories, and her final breath." The crowd listened, silent. "I didn't come to take a throne. I came because she asked. I stayed because I couldn't let her die a second time. Not in your hearts." He stepped back. "I don't ask you to kneel. I ask you to remember. And if remembering means standing here beside this child, holding what's left of her light, then I'll do it. Every day, until my last breath." A long silence. Then, from the back, a voice shouted, "Long live the Queen's will!" Another cried, "Long live the human!" And finally one child shouted, "Long live the Memory King!" The title echoed across the hall, and no one stopped it. Later, Ryan stood alone in the Queen's garden, now blooming again. The plants had begun to heal. So had the people. He looked up at the stars. The wind brushed his face gently, and he heard her voice one last time. "You were never just human to me. You were my choice." In the months that followed, the people of Zavora began to change. They no longer feared the idea of humans. They sang songs of a queen who loved beyond race, beyond species, beyond fear. Ryan wore no crown, but his word was law. Not because he ruled, but because he remembered. He built schools in her name. He opened the palace gates. He protected the memory vault with his life. And beside him always walked Alina. One evening, Alina stood at the edge of the garden, now almost grown. Fireflies danced in the air. Her dress shimmered like her mother's once had. She turned to Ryan and asked, "Will people always remember her?" Ryan kneeled beside her. "Not if we just speak her name. But if we live like she did, they'll never forget." Alina smiled. "Then I'll be like her." He ruffled her hair. "You already are." And so, the galaxy learned a new tale. Not of a warlord, not of a conqueror, but of a human. A man who did not want a throne, who loved a queen enough to keep her alive through memory. And on Zavora, when the stars aligned in the judgment sky again, the people would light lanterns and say, "She chose a man of no crown, no title, and because of him we remember." The end.